Some betrayals don't knock. They sit in your living room, drink from your glass, smile at your child, and wait for you to come home. If you're new to this channel, just subscribe now, and say it in the comment section. Rain hammered against the zinc roofing of nearby buildings as Chinedu Okafor locked up his electronics shop in Alaba International Market. It was 11:47 p.m., far earlier than he normally closed. Neon signs flickered across the wet pavement, and generators hummed like restless spirits in the dark. "Guy, today you day go early," his apprentice, Solar, asked, pulling down the shutter. Chinedu forced a tired smile. "Body no be firewood. I need rest. Plus, IWAN surprise my wife." Solar grinned. "Madam Amora go happy well. Chinedu nodded, but something tightened in his chest. The past few months had felt different. Amora had been distant, too busy, too distracted. Phone calls she wouldn't answer in front of him. Sudden trips to visit friends. Laughter that stopped when he entered a room. He had tried to ignore it. Marriage wasn't perfect. People changed. He trusted her. At least, he told himself he did. The drive from Oho to Srialia was slow and soaked in rain. Headlights reflected off flooded streets. Hawkers ran for cover under bridges. The storm felt alive, angry, unsettled. By the time he reached their duplex on Adeniran Ogunsanya Street, the rain had softened into a steady drizzle. He parked quietly outside the gate and stepped out, adjusting his jacket against the damp night air. Then he saw it. A black Toyota Prado. His father's Prado. Chief Emmanuel Okafor's pride and signature vehicle. Polished chrome. Custom plates. Impossible to mistake. Chinedu frowned. His father lived in Enugu. The last time they spoke, Chief had said he wouldn't visit Lagos until December for a business conference. It was September. Maybe emergency, Chinedu muttered to himself. He unlocked the gate gently, careful not to make noise. The compound was quiet. Too quiet. No generator running. No television sound from the sitting room. But upstairs, faint light slipped from under the master bedroom door. And then he heard it. Laughter. Soft at first. Then clearer. Amora's laughter. Followed by a deep male voice. Familiar. Too familiar. Chinedu froze in the middle of the living room. His heart began to pound so loudly he could hear it in his ears. No. It couldn't be. Maybe Papa came to surprise them. Maybe they were discussing family matters. Maybe. The laughter came again. Intimate. Close. Not the sound of a father visiting his son's wife. Chinedu's hands trembled. His briefcase slipped from his grip and landed silently on the rug. He kicked off his shoes slowly and began to climb the stairs. Each step felt like walking toward an execution. His mind raced back to small memories. His father insisting on helping with Amora's boutique startup. Frequent advice meetings. Money transfers he didn't question. The way Papa sometimes looked at her for a second too long. He had brushed it aside. It was his father. A respected businessman. A church elder. He reached the top of the staircase. The master bedroom door was slightly ajar. Light spilled into the hallway. And then he heard his name. "Chinedu is so busy these days," Amora said, her voice breathy. A deep chuckle followed. "Business makes a man blind." Chinedu's blood turned cold. Slowly, as if time itself had slowed to watch him suffer, he pushed the door open. The sight before him did not register immediately. His brain refused to accept it. White sheets tangled. Two bodies intertwined. His wife. And his father. Amora's eyes widened first. The color drained from her face. "Chinedu!" Chief Emmanuel turned his head slowly, as if mildly interrupted during a meeting. His expression held no shock. No panic. Only irritation. Time stopped. The rain outside grew louder again, as though heaven itself reacted. Chinedu's voice came out hoarse. "Papa." Silence. Amora scrambled to cover herself with the sheet. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Chinedu whispered. His father stood calmly, reaching for his trousers. "You should knock before entering a room." The audacity snapped something inside him. "This is my house." Chinedu roared. His chest tightened. His vision blurred. He felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. Amora slid off the bed, falling to her knees. "Please, listen to me. It's not, this is a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" His laugh came out broken. "I'm seeing things?" "That's what you're saying." Chief Emmanuel buttoned his shirt with deliberate calmness. "Lower your voice. The boy is sleeping." "Campsie. Their 3-year-old son." Chinedu staggered back a step. "How long?" he asked quietly. No one answered. The silence was heavier than thunder. He looked at his father, the man who taught him how to ride a bicycle. The man who stood proudly at his wedding. The man who prayed over his newborn son. "Papa, how long?" Amora sobbed loudly now. "Please, I can explain." "How long?" he shouted. Chief Emmanuel met his son's eyes without blinking. "Since before you married her." The word sliced through the air. Chinedu felt something inside his chest tear. "Before the wedding?" "That's a lie," Chinedu whispered. Amora shook her head violently. "No. It was a mistake. It happened once before the wedding and then we stopped." Chief Emmanuel's jaw tightened. "Do not lie." The room spun. 2 years, his father said evenly. On and off. Chinedu felt heat rush to his head. "You're joking." "This is not a joke." Amora crawled toward him, clutching his leg. "I was confused. I didn't know how to stop it." He helped with the boutique, he was always there. "Stop." Chinedu pulled away as if burned. His father stepped forward. "You were always busy. Always chasing money. Someone had to take care of her." Chinedu stared at him in disbelief. "So you decided to become my replacement?" Chief Emmanuel's eyes hardened. "Mind your tone." "My tone?" Chinedu laughed hysterically. "You're in my bed with my wife." The rain pounded harder. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Chinedu asked the question that had begun forming in his mind the second he saw them. "Campsie." Amora's crying intensified. Chief Emmanuel exhaled slowly. "What about him?" Chinedu's voice shook. His father's next words would shatter the fragile thread holding his sanity together. "Chinedu, there is something you need to know." And in that moment, standing barefoot in the ruins of his marriage, Chinedu realized that the storm outside was nothing compared to the one about to destroy his entire world. The room felt smaller, as if the walls themselves were closing in to witness the destruction of a family. "Chinedu, there is something you need to know," Chief Emmanuel repeated, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. Chinedu's fists tightened at his sides. "Whatever you want to say, say it." Amora shook her head violently. "No. Please, don't. Campsie might not be your son." The words did not explode. They did not echo. They simply landed. And everything inside Chinedu went silent. Even the rain seemed to fade into the background. He blinked once. Twice. As if his ears had misheard. "What did you just say?" His voice was calm now. Too calm. Amora crawled forward again, grabbing his ankle. "He's yours. He's yours. I swear to God." Chief Emmanuel cut her off. We were already involved before the wedding. You said it was once. Chinedu shouted at Amora. She looked up at him, her mascara running down her cheeks. It was complicated. Complicated. His laughter sounded hollow. Is that what we call this? Chief Emmanuel walked toward the wardrobe and picked up his wristwatch. The truth does not change because you shout at it. Chinedu turned to him slowly. You're saying my son might be yours? I am saying there is a possibility. A possibility. Chinedu felt like he might collapse. He grabbed the edge of the dresser for support. Memories flooded him all at once, Camps's first steps. The way the boy ran into his arms shouting, "Daddy!" The Sunday mornings when he carried him on his shoulders after church at RCCG. The nights he stayed awake when Campsy had malaria, placing cold cloth on his forehead. All of it. Now poisoned. You're lying, Chinedu whispered. You're trying to hurt me. Chief Emmanuel sighed. I gained nothing from lying. You gained my wife. Chinedu roared. Amora's crying turned into frantic pleading. It wasn't like that. He pressured me. He promised to invest in my boutique. He said he would take care of everything if I just... Stop making me the villain, Chief Emmanuel snapped sharply. You enjoyed it. Both of you stop. Chinedu screamed. Silence fell again. The only sound was Amora's broken sobs. Chinedu paced the room, running his hands through his hair. When did this start? Before your wedding, Chief Emmanuel replied. She came to Enugu to finalize arrangements with your mother. We talked. One thing led to another. And you didn't think to tell me? Chinedu asked, disbelief dripping from every word. Chief Emmanuel's face hardened. You were in love. You would not have listened. So you decided to sleep with her instead. Amora whispered, I was scared to lose you. You already lost me, Chinedu said flatly. She flinched as if slapped. Chief Emmanuel fastened his watch and straightened his collar. You need to calm down and think like a man. Chinedu turned slowly. Don't you dare lecture me about being a man. You are emotional, his father replied. That is your weakness. My weakness? Chinedu stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. My weakness is trusting my father. For the first time, a flicker of irritation crossed Chief Emmanuel's face. You were never ready for marriage, his father continued. You were too focused on small business. You lacked vision. And your solution was to impregnate my wife. Chinedu shot back. Amora covered her ears. Please stop. Kamsi will wake up. The mention of the boy cut through the chaos. All three of them froze. From the hallway, faintly, a child stirred in sleep. Chinedu swallowed hard. I want the truth, he said quietly. Is Kamsi mine? Amora crawled forward again, clutching his trousers. I don't know. I don't know. The timing was close. I swear I don't know. Chief Emmanuel remained silent. That silence said everything. Chinedu felt something inside him crack completely. He walked to the window and stared out at the rain-soaked streetlights. Cars splashed through puddles. Life outside continued as if nothing had happened. Inside, his world had ended. You two have been meeting here, he asked without turning. Yes, Chief Emmanuel answered bluntly. When you traveled for business. I trusted you, Chinedu whispered. Trust is for children, his father replied. Those words stung more than the confession. Chinedu turned back around slowly. Does Mama know? Chief Emmanuel hesitated for the first time. That hesitation was enough. You disgust me, Chinedu said. Amora reached for him again. Please, we can fix this. We can do DNA test. We can go for counseling. I'll cut him off completely. I swear. Chinedu looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time that night. The woman he had loved. The woman he had defended against gossip. The woman he planned to grow old with. "I don't even recognize you," he said softly. Her sobbing grew louder. Chief Emmanuel moved toward the door. "This conversation is going nowhere tonight. Don't walk away from me," Chinedu shouted. His father paused at the doorway. "When you are ready to think clearly, we will discuss this like men." Chinedu laughed bitterly. "Like men? You stopped being my father the moment you touched her." The older man's jaw tightened. "Watch your words." "Or what?" Chinedu challenged. "You'll take something else from me." For a second, it looked like Chief Emmanuel might strike him. Instead, he turned and walked down the hallway toward the guest room. The door shut firmly. The sound echoed through the house. Amora remained on the floor, shaking. Chinedu stood motionless. After a long moment, he spoke without looking at her. "Get dressed." She sniffed. "Chinedu." "Get dressed." Something in his tone made her obey immediately. She hurriedly gathered her clothes and wrapped herself tightly. Chinedu picked up his phone from the bedside table. Amora's eyes widened. "Who are you calling?" "No one," he replied. He scrolled silently, his face unreadable. "What are you doing?" she asked nervously. He locked the screen and slipped the phone into his pocket. "Nothing," he said calmly. She stared at him, confused by the sudden shift in his demeanor. He walked toward the bedroom door. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To check on my son." The emphasis on the last word made her flinch again. He stepped into the hallway, the weight of the night pressing against his shoulders. As he approached Camps's room, he heard the soft sound of his child breathing. He opened the door gently. Campsy lay curled under his cartoon bedsheets, unaware of the earthquake that had just split his family in two. Chinedu walked over and knelt beside the bed. He brushed his son's hair gently. The boy stirred and whispered sleepily, "Daddy." Tears finally filled Chinedu's eyes. He swallowed them back. No matter what happened next, one thing was certain. Nothing in this house would ever be the same again. Chinedu remained beside Camps's bed long after the house fell silent again. The storm outside had weakened, but inside him, the thunder only grew louder. He watched the rise and fall of the little boy's chest, memorizing it, as if afraid it could disappear by morning. "Daddy," Campsy murmured again in his sleep, turning slightly. Chinedu's throat tightened. If there was even a 1% chance that the child was not his, why did his heart refuse to accept it? Love did not ask for blood tests. Love did not measure DNA. But betrayal did. He stood slowly and walked out of the room, closing the door halfway. The hallway felt colder now. Amora sat on the edge of the master bed, fully dressed, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes were swollen, her body shaking. "Chinedu," she whispered when he entered. He didn't respond immediately. He walked to the wardrobe, pulled out a small travel bag, and began folding clothes into it. Her voice cracked. "What are you doing?" "I need space." "You're leaving?" "For tonight." She slid off the bed again. "Please don't go like this." "Like what?" he asked flatly. "Like I'm nothing." He zipped the bag and turned to her. "You made yourself nothing." She winced. "I loved you," he continued. "I defended you when people said you were too flashy. I supported your boutique when it wasn't making profit. I trusted you with my home." Tears streamed down her face again. "I was weak." "You were selfish." She shook her head. "He manipulated me." "Did he manipulate you every time?" Chinedu asked quietly. "Or did you enjoy the attention?" She couldn't answer. That silence was louder than confession. From down the hall, a door creaked open. Chief Emmanuel stepped out, now fully dressed in a clean traditional outfit as if preparing for a business meeting rather than the aftermath of betrayal. "This shouting will wake the boy," he said calmly. Chinedu looked at him with burning eyes. "You should have thought about that before." Chief Emmanuel ignored the comment. "Running away solves nothing." "I'm not running," Chinedu replied. "I'm preventing myself from doing something I might regret." The older man studied him carefully. "You are emotional now. By morning, you will see reason." "Reason?" Chinedu scoffed. "Is that what you call sleeping with your son's wife?" Chief Emmanuel's expression hardened. "Lower your voice." "No." The word hung heavy between them. For the first time, tension thickened the air. "You think you built everything on your own?" Chief Emmanuel said quietly. "That house? That shop? The capital you started with? It came from me." Chinedu stepped closer. "So I owe you my wife too?" "That is not what I said." "But that is what you did." Amora whispered weakly, "Please, both of you." Chief Emmanuel folded his arms. "This situation is bigger than your pride." "My pride?" Chinedu laughed bitterly. "You destroyed your own blood." The older man's eyes flashed. "Do not forget who you are speaking to. And you should remember who you betrayed." Silence. The house felt like a battlefield. Finally, Chief Emmanuel exhaled. "What is done is done. We can handle this discreetly." Chinedu stared at him in disbelief. "Discreetly?" "Yes. A DNA test. Settlement. Quiet arrangement. No need for scandal." Amora looked between them nervously. "Yes, we can fix it quietly." Chinedu's laughter was sharp. "You both think this is business." "It is reality," Chief Emmanuel replied. "Shouting will not reverse it." Chinedu grabbed his bag. "You don't get to decide how I react." He walked toward the stairs. "Where will you go?" Amora called after him. "Anywhere but here." Chief Emmanuel's voice followed him. "If you leave this house tonight, you make things harder." Chinedu paused halfway down the stairs and turned slowly. "Harder for who?" No one answered. He descended the rest of the staircase and stepped into the living room. The dim lights cast long shadows across the marble floor. He looked around at the framed wedding photo hanging near the TV stand. He and Amora smiling, holding hands. His father standing proudly beside them. The picture felt like a lie. He walked to the frame, removed it from the wall, and stared at it for a long moment. Then he placed it face down on the console table. Upstairs, he could hear faint whispers between Amora and his father. Plotting? Blaming each other? He didn't care. He stepped outside into the damp night air. The rain had reduced to a mist. The Prado still sat arrogantly in his compound. He looked at it for a long time. Then he got into his own car and drove off. The streets of Cerealia were nearly empty at that hour. Streetlights flickered. Puddles reflected his headlights like broken mirrors. His phone buzzed. Amora. He ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, he switched it to silent and placed it on the passenger seat. His mind replayed everything, her voice, his father's calm confession, the possibility that Campsie was not his. The thought twisted his stomach. He drove aimlessly until he reached Third Mainland Bridge. The lagoon stretched dark and endless beneath him. For a brief second, a dangerous thought crossed his mind: what if he simply kept driving and never returned? But then he remembered Campsie's small hand in his. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. No, he whispered to himself. I won't run. Instead of going to a hotel, he drove toward Yaba and parked in front of his closed shop. He sat there in silence for several minutes. Then he reached for his phone. He opened the voice recording app and pressed play. The sound of Amora's voice filled the car. Soft. Intimate. He suspects nothing, she had said in the recording. Then his father's voice followed. Good. We move carefully. The property transfer must be complete before December. Chinedu's jaw tightened. He had started recording months ago when suspicion first crept into his heart. Late-night calls. Strange financial movements. Meetings that didn't add up. He hadn't confronted them because he needed proof. Now he had it. And more. He opened his email and scrolled to scan documents, bank transfers from his father's account to Amora's boutique. Property papers listing Amora as co-owner with Chief Emmanuel. This wasn't just an affair. It was a plan. He leaned back in his seat and stared at the shop sign above him. Okafor Electronics. His father's name. Everything traced back to that name. Chinedu's breathing slowed. The pain was still there. But beneath it, something else was forming. Clarity. If they thought he was naive, they had underestimated him. His phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Amora. It was his mother. Mrs. Ngozi Okafor. At 1:38 a.m. Chinedu stared at the screen, confused. He answered. Hello, Mama. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Chinedu, she said softly. Have you seen your father tonight? A chill ran down his spine. Yes, he replied slowly. There was a brief pause on the other end. Then it has happened, she said. His grip tightened on the phone. You knew. Another pause. I warned him the truth would come out, she replied quietly. Chinedu's heart pounded again. Mama, what exactly do you know? The house emptied slowly, like a courtroom after a verdict. Voices lingered in low murmurs. Shoes scraped against marble. Doors opened and closed. No one met my eyes for long. Shame has a scent. It hung in the air long after everyone stepped outside. Tunde remained standing in the living room, hands on his hips, jaw tight. You blindsided me, he said finally. I revealed you, I corrected. You didn't have to involve everyone. I didn't have to marry you either, I replied calmly. He let out a sharp breath. You're enjoying this. I looked at him carefully. You still don't understand me. Upstairs, drawers opened and shut. Ifeanyi was packing. Her mother's voice floated faintly through the hallway, scolding between sobs. Tunde ran a hand through his hair. We can fix this privately. Withdraw whatever you filed. I haven't withdrawn anything, I said. I'm just getting started. His eyes flickered. Started. I walked to the dining table and picked up a slim brown folder. I slid it toward him. Open it. He hesitated before flipping it open. Inside were photocopies, bank transfers, equity agreements, incorporation documents. Highlighted sections. Signatures. Dates. You kept copies, he muttered. I built the structure, I said evenly. I don't forget foundations. He scanned the pages faster now. This doesn't mean you can just pull out. I can, I replied. There are clauses. You were too eager to expand to read them carefully. He looked up sharply. You're bluffing. Call your lawyer, I said. He'll explain. Silence stretched between us. For the first time since I'd known him, Tunde looked uncertain. Not charming. Not persuasive. Just unsure. Upstairs, footsteps approached. Ifeanyi appeared at the top of the stairs holding a suitcase. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. She looked smaller somehow. She descended slowly. Her father stood by the door, waiting. When she reached the bottom step, she paused in front of me. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. I studied her face, not the cousin I grew up with, but the woman who made a choice. "Loneliness isn't an accident," I said quietly. "It's a conversation you entertain." She began crying again. Her father pulled her gently toward the door. "Let's go." The gate closed behind them. Now it was just Tunde and me. He dropped into a chair heavily. "You're throwing everything away." "No," I said. "You did." He laughed bitterly. "So what? You think you'll run the company alone?" "I won't need to," I said calmly. "Because I'm withdrawing." He stared at me. "You can't just walk away and expect it to survive without you. That's not my responsibility anymore." His lips parted slightly, and I saw it, the first real flicker of fear. Not about the marriage. Not about shame. About money. About control. "You're being emotional," he tried again. I gave a small, almost pitying smile. "If I were emotional, I would have destroyed you publicly last night." He stood abruptly. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," I replied. "That's the point." Silence. The generator hummed outside. A car passed on the street. The world moved forward, indifferent to the collapse happening inside our home. "I'll fight this," he said finally. "I expect you to." He grabbed his car keys from the table. "You're making a mistake." I looked around the living room, the white walls, the art I chose, the couch I paid for. "No," I said quietly. I corrected one. He walked toward the door, then stopped. "You think you're better than me?" "I think I deserve better than this." That was the last thing I said before he left. The door shut. The house fell silent again. For the first time since the night before, I allowed myself to sit down. My hands rested on my knees. My breathing was steady. My heart was not shattered, it was reorganized. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a contact saved as Barrister Chaik Mosu. He answered in a firm, professional tone. "Good morning, Amora." "Good morning, Barrister." "I'm ready." "For the divorce filing?" "Yes." "And the corporate withdrawal?" He paused briefly. "Are you certain?" "I've never been more certain about anything." "Good," he said. "Come to my office this afternoon. Bring every document you have." "I will." By 2 p.m., I was seated across from him in his office on Admiralty Way. The air conditioning was cold, sharp against my skin. He adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the documents I placed on his desk. "You were very strategic when you invested." "I didn't invest emotionally," I said. He nodded slowly. "Your name is clearly on the property deed. That simplifies things." "And the business?" He tapped the agreement. "You hold majority influence in initial capital injection. There are protective clauses here." He looked up at me. "He underestimated you." "He always did." He leaned back in his chair. "Divorce proceedings can get ugly." "I've already seen ugly," I replied. "Paperwork doesn't scare me." He allowed himself a faint smile. "We'll file by Friday." "And the accounts?" "We can freeze joint access temporarily pending review." "Do it." His expression softened slightly. "Are you all right?" I considered the question carefully. "I'm clear." When I left his office, the Lagos sun felt brighter than usual. Not warmer, brighter. As if the haze had lifted from my own vision. The week moved quickly. By Friday, joint accounts were frozen. Legal notices were drafted. Corporate communications were scheduled. Tunde called repeatedly. I didn't answer. He sent messages, angry at first, then pleading, then threatening. "You'll regret this. You're destroying everything. Call me." I didn't. On Wednesday of the following week, news began to circulate quietly among business partners that restructuring was underway. Investors grew cautious. Without my financial oversight, numbers started revealing weaknesses. Expenses Tunde had approved casually. Deals he'd made based on charm instead of calculation. Within a month, cracks appeared. Within 2 months, they widened. Contracts were withdrawn. Payments delayed. Staff salaries questioned. That smart and charming Tunde was suddenly overwhelmed. He requested meetings with me through lawyers. I declined. Communication stayed strictly formal. One evening, as I reviewed documents in what used to be our shared study, I realized something profound. I wasn't grieving him. I was grieving the illusion. And illusions, once shattered, are easier to release than truth. The divorce process moved steadily. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just methodical. Tunde's tone shifted from arrogance to negotiation. Let's settle this quietly. I responded through my lawyer. He tried to appeal emotionally once. He showed up at the house unannounced. When I opened the door, he looked exhausted. Amora, please. We can start over. I studied his face. With who? With me. You lost that privilege. He shook his head. You're cold now. No, I said gently. I'm aware. 2 months after that hotel night, the company officially collapsed under financial strain and investor withdrawal. Staff dispersed. Offices closed. The same people who once praised his brilliance now avoided his calls. Meanwhile, I had already begun laying foundations for something new. Quietly. Carefully. A consulting firm. Small at first. Focused on financial structure and risk assessment. I worked from a rented office space, modest but efficient. No grand announcements. No social media celebration. Just work. And peace. For the first time in years, I woke up without tension sitting quietly in my chest. The house in Lekki no longer felt like a stage for a perfect marriage. It felt like mine. And I slept deeply. 6 months later, Abuja was glowing under golden evening lights when I saw her again. It was my colleague Ada's wedding, an elegant ceremony in a large event center in Maitama. Crystal chandeliers, white floral arrangements, soft music floating through the air. I wore a simple champagne-colored dress and minimal jewelry. No dramatic entrance. No need. I had learned something over the past months: peace doesn't announce itself. It just exists. I was speaking with a client near the buffet table when I felt it, that strange sensation of being watched. I turned. Ifunanya stood near the entrance. She looked thinner. Not physically frail, but emotionally worn. The spark she once carried in her eyes had dimmed. Her dress was beautiful, but she wore it like someone trying too hard to look okay. Our eyes met. For a brief second, she looked like she might turn around and leave. She didn't. Instead, she walked toward me slowly. Each step felt like a memory replaying itself: the kitchen in my house, the hotel corridor, her tears on my marble floor. When she reached me, her voice was soft. Amora. I nodded politely. Ifunanya. There was no anger in my tone. Just acknowledgement. You look good, she said. I replied. She swallowed. Can we talk? I glanced around. The music was gentle, conversations flowing around us unnoticed. Briefly, we stepped aside toward a quieter corner near the garden doors. The evening breeze slipped in through the open glass. She clasped her hands together nervously. I've wanted to reach out. You didn't. I was ashamed. That didn't stop you before. She winced slightly at the truth in that sentence. Tunde and she began, then stopped. I waited. He left, she said finally. I wasn't surprised. I heard. Her eyes widened. You heard? Lagos is small when it wants to be. She looked down. He said he needed space. Then I found out he was seeing someone else. The irony hovered between us. I thought he loved me, she whispered. I studied her carefully. Did he? She didn't answer. Instead, tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they weren't dramatic. They were tired. I'm sorry, she said. Not because he left. But because I hurt you. I let the silence stretch long enough for her words to settle. Loneliness doesn't justify betrayal, I said calmly. You knew that. I convinced myself you were strong. That you'd survive it. I gave a faint, humorless smile. So I was collateral damage. No, she said quickly. I was selfish. That, at least, was honest. The music inside shifted to a louder rhythm. Laughter erupted from somewhere near the dance floor. Life continuing. I don't expect forgiveness, she added. That's good, I replied evenly. Her face tightened slightly. I've already forgiven you, I continued. Her head snapped up. You have? Yes. She looked confused. Why? Because carrying anger would tie me to that hotel room forever. She stared at me as if seeing someone entirely new. I needed freedom more than revenge, I said. She shook her head slowly. I thought catching us that night would destroy you. It revealed you, I replied softly. And it revealed him. A tear slid down her cheek. Do you hate me? I considered the question honestly. No. After everything? Hatred requires energy, I said. And I've invested mine elsewhere. She let out a shaky breath. I lost everything. No, I corrected gently. You lost what was never stable. She looked away. He told me you were too controlling. Too ambitious. That he felt small beside you. I almost laughed. And you believed him. I wanted to. There it was again. Choice. Do you regret it? I asked. She nodded immediately. Every day. I studied her face carefully, searching for manipulation. I didn't find it. Just consequence. I built something new, I said after a moment. I heard, she replied quietly. Your consulting firm. People say you're doing well. I am. She gave a small nod. You deserve it. The word sounded sincere. We stood there for a few seconds in shared history. Not friends. Not enemies. Just two women connected by a decision that changed everything. Why did you thank me? She asked suddenly. I remembered that night in my living room, when she had looked at me in shock. Because if I hadn't caught you, I said calmly, I would still be living in an illusion. She frowned slightly. I thought I had a loyal husband, I continued. I thought I had a safe home. I thought I was secure. But security built on deception isn't security. It's delay. She listened quietly. You didn't destroy my life, I added. You exposed its cracks. Her eyes filled again. I don't know how to fix mine. That's not my responsibility, I said gently. But you start by being honest with yourself. The music swelled as the couple entered the hall for their first dance. Applause erupted. I looked toward the ballroom briefly, then back at her. I hope you find peace, I said. You too, she whispered. I already have. I picked up my clutch and stepped back into the hall. Conversations resumed around me. Laughter. Music. Celebration. I didn't look back. Later that night, as I stood outside under the Abuja sky waiting for my ride, I reflected on everything. 6 months ago, I had knocked on a hotel door expecting heartbreak. Instead, I found clarity. Tunde had moved on again, predictable. The business had collapsed, inevitable. But I had rebuilt quietly. Steadily. Without noise. Back in Lekki, the house felt different now, not haunted, not heavy. Just peaceful. Mine. I learned something through all of it. Betrayal feels like destruction in the moment. But sometimes it's demolition before renovation. You cannot build something solid on cracked foundations. That Tuesday night didn't end my life. It corrected it.